Hi there, this is Bindu Kumar here from DataAcademy.in. In this video, we will look at the three different styles of data presentation. I'll be explaining the three different styles with easy to understand examples. So let's get started. First, we will see what are the topics that I'm going to cover in this presentation. First is we will look at the definition of a data presentation. As with all my other videos, I always start with a problem statement. So here we are going to look at the problem statement from the 1990s and the solution for it. We are then going to look at the problem statement from the 2000s and the solution for it. And finally, the problem statement from 2010 onwards and the solution for it. Finally, we are going to compare between the three different solutions or the three different styles. We will also look at few sample scenarios and finally summarize the presentation. So let's begin with the definition of data presentation. Data presentation is often referred by various terms such as data visualization or reporting or business intelligence reporting and so on. But they all have a very generic meaning. So data presentation refers to the process of simply displaying the information stored in any data storage. The data could be stored in a database, an Excel, a text file, or any structured or unstructured data systems. Right? So the data presentation is the process by which we display the information. How we display the information can vary based on the requirement. Now, why do we need to present the data? Data is stored in the database by either an application or maybe by a human being. But the data just stored isn't enough. Sometimes you have to extract the data again in order to do things such as simple data discovery, business discovery, analytics, data exploration, data mining, and for various other reasons, including sharing that data with other systems or other employees. Right? So in the life cycle of data, we create data, we store data, but that's not the end of it. We always read the data again for these various reasons. So this process of retrieving the data is often called data presentation. And data presentation often involves reading data from a data storage and displaying it using different tools such as reporting or business intelligence tools. Right? So here in this presentation, we are going to focus on that part of data presentation where we fetch the data and then we are presenting it in some sort of a chart or a graph, some kind of a visualization, which will be often consumed by a human being. So this is the high level definition of data presentation. Now let's jump into the problem statement of the 1990s. We will go ahead with the scenario. So here are 3 point of sale systems. These are the terminals where a sale is made, let's suppose in a supermarket. And there is a centralized transactional database. All the 3 point of sale systems write their transactions to this one database. Here is the manager of sales for the supermarket. The manager wants to get some kind of analytics from this transactional database, or he simply wants to find out some information such as what are my profits for last week, what are my top three products, and so on. Right? So the manager can connect to the transactional database and he or she can write their own queries. There is a problem with this approach though, and some reasons why it's not recommended. First, the manager should have adequate SQL skills. In order to interact with the database, in order to write queries, the manager should know what is SQL, how to write performant and correct queries. In the absence of these skills, the manager could not only get incorrect information, but he or she could end up causing a severe performance issue on the transactional database, which in turn will affect the performance on the point of sale systems. Also, the manager needs to understand the data model. If one has to use more than one table to query the information, he or she should understand how the tables are related, what is the best join condition that can be made between the tables involved. Finally, the load on the transactional database. Writing such regular queries on the transactional database will increase load on the transactional database and cause it to be slow in terms of performance. Now, what is the solution for it? One interim solution could be we set up a database replication. Database replication is where we simply copy over all the data from the transactional database. It's a mirror copy of all the data from the primary database into a backend database. Now, the manager can connect to the database replication in order to fire their queries. But still, this does not solve all the problems. We still have the problem that the manager has to be trained enough in SQL skills. The manager has to understand the data model. The load on the transactional database as an issue is avoided to an extent because we are not directly connecting to the transactional database. Instead, the manager is executing all his queries against the backup database or the replicated database. So next we will look at how some more of these problems can be solved. Here is where we introduce to the first style of reporting called pixel perfect reporting. Now we bring an IT team into the picture. An IT team represents the development team who are responsible for the upkeep of the database, for writing software solutions to solve business problems. With the presence of an IT team, the sales manager will now give the reporting requirements to the IT team. The IT team will connect to the database. In this case, it is the replication database and not the primary database. The IT team will deliver a pixel perfect report and give it to the sales manager. Now, why do we call it pixel perfect report? We call it pixel perfect reporting because there is a lot of emphasis on the format and the layout of the report. You see, the requirements is being driven by the manager. The manager often uses an existing report or a document as an example to pass on the requirement. Hence, the IT team sticks to the format and the layout. One good example of a pixel perfect report is your payslip. If you notice closely, your payslip will often have data from multiple systems. It will have your payroll data from the accounting system. It will have the number of leaves that you have left from the leaves management system, and maybe some other information from the employee management system. All of this data is integrated and delivered to you as a single report. What to notice is that the payslip is heavily formatted, or there is a lot of emphasis on the format and the layout. You will also notice that the format and layout are pretty much static. They don't change month over month. It's the numbers that might change, but the overall format and layout are pretty much fixed. Now, once the report is delivered, the sales manager may want some changes, in which case the manager again has to pass down the requirements to the IT team. The IT team is the only team or the only set of people capable of making the changes to the report. So it follows a thorough waterfall methodology where requirements flow to the IT team does the necessary changes and deliver the report back to the manager. So with this, we are solving some problems such as the need for SQL skills. You see, the manager does not have to connect to the database directly. Hence, the manager does not need SQL skills. The manager need not understand the data model, and the load on the transactional database is also reduced. So here we have involved an IT team who is taking care to write the optimal SQL, who also have knowledge on the data model. Now, this was the problem statement that the first style of reporting, which is pixel perfect reporting, aimed to resolve. So let's quickly summarize the first style of reporting. So requirements are given through sample or existing reports. Usually they are in the form of Excel spreadsheets, used for simple and direct representation of data. So one attribute of pixel perfect reporting is there was emphasis on simple data retrieval. We didn't do any real analytics, and remember this was back in 1990s, right? So not many people were doing analytics. So most of this reporting tools that belong to the first style, they used to simply display the data. They usually connect to just a single database at a time. Data is mostly displayed as is, the way it is in a database. There is no transformations or there are no derived columns and so on. Lots of emphasis is on the format and layout. So you have to know what is the page size. Is it going to be A3? Is it going to be letter, A4 and so on? Only the IT team can create and modify reports. So the end users can only access the reports, refresh it, export it. But any changes, big or small, it is the IT team that has to do it. And the layout and the format itself are static, which means once the report is delivered, the users really cannot play around with the format and layout. They cannot change it. Here are simple examples of a pixel perfect report. Notice the format and the layout, and also notice the kind of data that's being displayed. It's all plain text. So this solution or this style of reporting, which is pixel perfect reporting, seemed to resolve some of the issues that arose in the 1990s with many organizations adopting databases to store their data. Now, 10 years later, in 2000s, there was another problem, right? So let's look at it with the same example. So we have this setup where the manager talks to the IT team to get their reports. There are some problems though. One, the manager is completely dependent on the IT. Without IT, they cannot modify the reports or they cannot create new reports. The report layout is static. Once a report is delivered, the manager really cannot make any changes to it, such as adding or removing attributes, changing the header footer, changing the calculated column, and so on. And there's a pretty long turnaround time. Since the IT team is usually a fixed number of people, if more and more requirements keep coming to them, obviously they have to wait in line, right? So the IT team quickly becomes a bottleneck for such requirements. What they really wanted was some kind of a self-service. So self-service in the context where a person like a manager who is not technically trained in databases can still create their their own reports and dashboards in a easy manner. That is what self-service is all about, being able to fetch the data directly without having to depend completely on IT. Also, the ability to modify a report, which involves adding or removing attributes. And of course, a shorter turnaround. If it's still going to take the same amount of time as the previous scenario, this really would not help. So the end users were really looking for a very shorter turnaround time. And of course, they wanted to avoid SQL. They really didn't want to pick up SQL. That's because it's not a primary skill in their line of work. So with these problem statements, the industry responded with a new set of products. So here is one example. The same IT team now, instead of directly delivering the reports to the sales manager, will set up a dedicated reporting server. The reporting server will connect to either the transactional database or in this case to the replicated database. The IT team manages the reporting server, and with the help of the reporting server and the database, they deliver something called as enterprise reporting. Enterprise reporting is where the sales manager have the ability not only to access reports but create new reports as well as modify existing reports. So this addresses the major problems of the previous style of reporting, where the reports were mostly static and there was a long turnaround time to create new reports. Although this architecture is slightly complex, it addresses all the problems that the end users were facing. So this second style of reporting is called enterprise BI reporting. Here again, the requirements are given through sample or existing reports. One thing to observe here is the IT team, they have to invest a significant effort upfront to set up the reporting environment. Since it's a self-service environment, initially the IT team has to spend a lot of time setting the environment correctly, configuring it so that their end users can access and they can create their own reports. Now I'll not get into the detail of what is the kind of configuration that we have to do. Probably that I'll cover in a different video. Once this is set up, the end users can now perform self-service BI, which means they can use a drag and drop user interface to create and modify reports. This often involves data from multiple data sources using ETL technology. So the IT team, when they put in a lot of effort initially, one part of the effort is in getting the data from multiple systems using ETL. Data is displayed as well as aggregated. So we discussed about what is data displayed as is. We just show the data row by row. When we say aggregated, we are really talking about applying some kind of a aggregation function such as sum of, max, min, average, count, and so on. So these are called aggregate functions. There is less emphasis on format and layout, and the reason for that is users are expected to modify the reports. So when they modify the reports, they not only drag and drop attributes, but they change the format and layout as well. So there is not much emphasis on format and layout, but there is more emphasis on flexibility and interactivity. The ability to add or remove attributes lead to flexibility. The ability to click on a report and be able to, let's say, drill down, right? Or do a roll up. That is referred to as interactivity of the reports. Now, here are some examples On the second image, you will notice it's a screenshot from MicroStrategy. You can see how in the using this tool, the users can drag and drop and create their own reports. And not only reports, once they have the attributes, they can play around, they can add calculated columns, they can change the position, the sorting, the filtering, all of it using a simple desktop tool. Now let's move on to problems of 2010s. Right? So what happened in 2010? Here you'll see the same image carried forward from the previous style. However, you'll see the size of the sales manager has shrunk, right? Well, the sales manager has not decreased in size, but what's happening is the sales manager is sharing space with a new breed of users called power users or data scientists. Now, this is a new role that has come up in the past few years, or let's say the past decade. What exactly do they do? You see, in this day and age, every organization needs data to understand what's happening within the organization as well as outside the organization. Similarly, their need for data has changed as well. In the previous scenarios, we noticed that we were consuming the data that was created within the organization. But there is an increasing dependency on consuming data from outside the organization as well, such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and many other third-party sources contain a lot of data that can be utilized in a very creative manner for business improvement. So that is where we have this new breed of users called power users or data scientists. These people have one foot firmly in the business side of things and one foot firmly on the technology side of things. Now, these power users also started giving their requirements to the IT team, saying, I want the data from all these different third-party systems. The IT team would then go ahead with integrating these data to the reporting server and finally presenting that information to both the power users and the sales manager. But again, there were some shortcomings or there were some problems with this approach. First is the long turnaround time for IT. Right? So the IT team, as always, becomes a bottleneck. All the different requests need to be routed through them, and they will have their own SLAs. But if you look at the nature of work that a data scientist does, their requirements are often temporary and critical. When we say temporary, they probably need the analysis for a day or two, or maybe for a week. But it doesn't mean that it is of low priority. It is quite critical. It could be a big deal when it comes to taking a major business decision. Hence the term time bound. Right? So the requirement is heavily time bound. It has to be completed within a particular amount of time. Also, their requirements are quite unique, which means a dashboard or visualization that they build may not be really useful for anyone else but them. So the nature of work that the data scientists and the power users do is they collect data from not only internal systems but from external systems as well. They derive some meaningful insight from it and they pass on that insight to other members in the team or even to the management team. But then you really don't have to store that data visualization forever. Once the insight has been derived and passed on, it is okay to delete the visualization. Which is why the last statement, which is requirements are unique and they are non-usable and non-repeatable. So this presents a very challenging scenario. How does the IT team deal with two different set of requirements? On one side, you have users like the sales manager who are asking to create dashboard that will be used every day. On the other hand, you have the data scientist who are also coming up with data requirements, but theirs is very critical, but it is needed only for maybe a week or two, after which it can be discarded. So the IT team really struggled to deal with this. So what was really required was a quick turnaround for the data scientist in getting the overall report. They also wanted self-service data acquisition. We also looked at this word self-service in the previous slide as well, or in the previous scenario. There it was self-service reporting. Here it is self-service data acquisition, which means the data scientist would want to connect to the database directly to get the data that they need. The data could be in a database, or it could be in a structured or an unstructured format such as Excel or CSV or even JSON. Once the data is retrieved, they want the ability to quickly create dashboard and share them. At the same time, they want to avoid, not completely, but to a certain extent, the complexity involved in database connectivity and the various syntax that are involved in it. Once again, the software industry responded with the third style of reporting called data visualization. Here is a high-level architecture of what a data visualization tool does. On one end, we have the power users. On the other hand, we have internal source systems and we have external source systems. Here we'll take the example of Tableau as a data visualization tool. Tableau is capable of connecting to both internal and external systems. It supports connectivity to many different systems. Using Tableau, the power users can directly generate the visualizations that they need. The thing to observe here is there is little or no involvement from the IT team. So the data scientist or power users can get the data that they need, create the visualizations they want in a very rapid pace. So this was the third style of reporting, which is data visualization. The requirements from data visualizations were: one, it is easy to use. Second, it should support connecting multiple data sources. Remember, the data may lie across various systems such as REST APIs, unstructured databases, file systems, and so on. It has to be simple enough so that beginners can start using it, but with advanced features that experts can use to fully leverage the tool. And more importantly, these tools have to be customized for data analytics. In other words, reading data from a data warehouse. But this does not mean that the tools will only connect to a data warehouse. It's very much capable of connecting to data from multiple systems and being able to do analytics on the fly. So to summarize, the third style of reporting, these were created for more end-to-end self-service BI. We use the word end-to-end because this now includes data acquisition or data ingestion as well as data preparation. The next very important point is this style is suitable for power users, data analyst and data scientist. These are users who are not completely on the business side. They are half on the business side, half on the technology side, which means they are comfortable with writing queries. They understand what are joins. They understand um, the intricacies of database performance and so on. Also, the users who create these reports on their own by connecting to the database, they are finally accountable for the report that they create. Hence, they are responsible for the data consistency and the query performance. The style of tools are capable of data blending. Data blending means the ability to combine data from different systems such as Excel and database, or database and API. In this style of reporting, there is more emphasis on data visualization using advanced charts and graphs, and less emphasis on, let's say, the format, the layout, and uh, the showing the data row by row. So as you can see here, there is less emphasis on format, layout, and displaying data row by row. Now here is a screenshot from Tableau. The screenshot on the left hand side shows you a worksheet in Tableau. Here you not only see the visualization, but you also see the attributes available on the left panel. And using tools like Tableau, you can create different kind of charts that are showcased by the second picture here to the right. You have a pie chart, you have an advanced histogram, you have an area chart, line chart, you have some custom chart components, as well as map visualization. And now let's do a quick comparison between all the three different tools in the context of different features. So the first feature is dependence on IT. So in the first style of reporting, there is a high dependence on IT team. Only the IT team can create and modify reports. But in the medium BI reporting, apologies, I meant in the enterprise BI reporting, they have a medium dependency. It's not a high dependency. In data visualization, there is either no or very less dependence on IT. The second feature is the technical skills required or expected from the end users. When it comes to pixel perfect reporting, it is low because they are completely dependent on the IT. In the enterprise BI reporting, there is a medium level of technical skills required. That is because they are creating their own reports. So they need to know the basics of a drag and drop interface. They will need a little training. When it comes to data visualization tool, the end users are expected to be highly technical. The third feature is about report reusability. In a pixel perfect reporting, the reports can be reused. However, if there are any changes that are required to it, it cannot be reused until the changes are done. Or sometimes the very reason that reports are shared between many users prevents it from being updated, which means you will end up creating another report just to add one extra column. Whereas in enterprise BI reporting, it is high, and in data visualization, there is a very low factor of reusability. The fourth feature being the turnaround time for creating modifying reports. It is very high in Pixel Perfect, it's very low in enterprise BI reporting, and low in data visualization as well. Next, turnaround time for adding new data sources. It's medium in Pixel Perfect reporting, high in enterprise BI reporting, and low in data visualization. Support large volumes of data. Pixel Perfect reporting is perfectly capable of doing that. So it has a very high support. Enterprise BI reporting also supports, but at a median level. Data visualization will support, but it will have performance issues. So you have to be very careful when using very large amounts of data against a data visualization tool. Support features for data analytics. There is very low support in the first style of reporting. The second style has medium support, and the data visualization has high support. The ability to create quick and rapid data visualization. Again, it's a low, medium, and high. Knowledge required in understanding the underlying data model. So this means what is the kind of effort that the end users have to put in to understand the data model. In Pixel Perfect, absolutely none, because they're completely dependent on the IT team. So the IT team will take care of understanding the data model and writing the right queries. In the enterprise reporting, there may be a little training required for the end users. Still, they don't have to write any SQL. But in a data visualization layer, there is a very high expectation from the end users. They need to absolutely understand what is the underlying data model, without which they cannot write a meaningful query. So the same applies for understanding the database complexity as well. However, it is low in both the first and the second style. But in data visualization, there is a high expectation from the users in understanding the database complexity. Next, guarantee of report logic and data consistency across users. So what is the guarantee that a report that is created is free from any logical errors or data consistency errors? So when it comes to Pixel Perfect reporting, there is absolute guarantee, because it's only the IT team which is creating the reports. So they are probably going through a proper checklist. They're doing a peer review, and the report that they create will be used by everyone else without any modifications. So that ensures a high level of guarantee. When it comes to enterprise BI reporting, there is either a high or a medium guarantee. In data visualization, there is very low guarantee. The reason is every visualization that someone creates is their own, right? So there is no guarantee that if the two of us use the same data visualization tool and connect to the database, that we will be writing the same query. There are chances that the query that I write will be slightly different from the query that you write in terms of results being returned, the performance of the query, the logic of the query, and many other factors. When it comes to setup and licensing cost, it costs very low to set up a Pixel Perfect reporting tool, whereas it is medium for the second style and high for the third style of reporting. And computing resource for end users, it is low for the first and the second style, because most of the reports are accessed over a simple web browser. Whereas for data visualization tools, sometimes there is a need to install a desktop application. So this was about the comparison between the three different tools. Now let's look at some sample scenarios. There is an organization that is mostly made up of attorneys or lawyers, and they have or they process cases for court. So what they do is they have an internal system which has a backend database. They often need to connect to the database to understand what are the upcoming cases and what are the documents that are required for a particular case, and maybe even scheduling these cases with the court. So what do you think is the style of reporting that is best suited for this environment? You may feel that the amount of detail that I'm giving is very less, but I'm doing that for a reason. If you guessed pixel perfect reporting, you are right. I gave very less detail so that you can try and make use of the details that are available to you, right? So the first thing I said is attorneys. As attorneys, we do not expect them to be experts in SQL, right? And uh, we don't expect them to be doing any kind of analytics. Hence, a pixel perfect reporting would do perfectly fine in an environment like this. So we will deploy a pixel perfect reporting tool to be able to connect to the database and read the data from there and present to them simple reports that can be used. We will look at the next scenario. So here we have the manager of sales. The manager of sales would often connect to the transactional database to get some kind of analytical questions answered, such as what are top 3 products, what are top 10 customers, how are our sales month over month, what's our inventory level, and so on. So what do you think is the style of reporting that is suited for this? Okay, so if you guessed enterprise reporting, you are absolutely right. If you look at the pattern of questions, you can see that the pattern is ever changing. There is no fixed pattern to it, right? So the manager will need access to the data, yet the kind of questions they ask every day can change, which means the IT team will spend significant effort initially to set up an enterprise reporting platform. Once that is set, the manager can drag and drop attributes and ask the kind of questions that they want. In the next scenario, we have a data analyst, and the data analyst needs access to both the internal systems as well as some external data sources. So what is the kind of questions they will have? They will have questions like this. How will our product sales be influenced by competitors' launch? What is the public's sentiment about our brand? What is the impact due to our most recent advertisement? What is the market share of our product? Which geographic markets are yet to be penetrated? If you see these questions, the answer to many of these questions do not lie within the organization. Often, data will have to be retrieved from external systems, and the availability of the external systems can also change from time to time. This is a good scenario for using the third style of reporting, which is data visualization. Now let's look at one last scenario. We have the sales manager again, along with the data analyst. And they both need data from these systems. Which style of reporting do you think will fit into this scenario? So here is an example where we can fit in both enterprise BI reporting and data visualization. Yeah, that is right. So different styles of reporting can be combined within the same organization. In fact, this is much more preferred than some of the anti-patterns that happen. I have seen many organizations where they feel that Tableau or any other data visualization tool like it is the cutting edge, and they start using that for pretty much everything in their organization, which involves they try to use Tableau for doing pixel perfect reporting. They try to use the same Tableau tool for doing enterprise BI reporting without addressing some of the problems that they bring to the table, such as ensuring consistency of data, making sure it is easy for the user to use, license cost, and so on. So with the right knowledge, you would know that you cannot use one tool to solve all the problems. Instead, first you understand what the problem is and then we choose the tool. So I have come across many organizations and many projects that have been smart enough to leverage not one but two different tools to satisfy the two different styles of problems that they have. So here are some of the examples of tools. In Pixel Perfect Reporting, I have worked on BERT, which is Business Intelligence Reporting tool. We have Crystal Reports, which is now part of SAP Business Objects. And then we have SSRS, which is SQL Server Reporting Services. On the Enterprise BI reporting side, we have SAP Business Objects. We have Cognos from IBM, Oracle BI, and MicroStrategy. On the data visualization, we have Tableau, which is everybody's favorite, TIBCO Spotfire, SAP Lumira, Oracle Indica, and MicroStrategy Desktop. You'll observe here that Oracle, SAP, and MicroStrategy, they have tools across the two different styles of reporting. So what that shows is that going forward, we will see a lot of such overlap, which is one tool being able to satisfy all the three different styles of reporting. At the moment, however, there is a lot of architectural difference between these three different styles, which is why nobody has attempted to combine all of it into one tool. But as days goes by, you never know, somebody might come out with that really flexible and agile architecture in one tool which can do all the three for us. So with this, I would like to summarize this presentation. Data presentation is the process of showing stored data in the form of useful information. There are three styles of reporting: Pixel Perfect, Enterprise BI, and data visualization. What is important to remember is one style cannot solve all the problems. Each style serves a very specific need. First, identify what is the style of the problem that you have. Then pick the right tool, not the other way around. If you are aware of these three different styles, it will help you avoid mistakes in architecture, performance, user requirements, long-term maintenance, data consistency, and other issues. Thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope you find it useful. Remember, if you really like this video and if you found it useful, please do give a like. Share this with other friends of yours who may find this useful as well. And do subscribe to my YouTube channel. When you subscribe, you will get notifications of all the new videos that I upload and also the occasional live streams that I do. Once again, thank you for watching this video.